Hey guys, so there are 3 things that you are going to do with the sub today. One of them you may have already done. So the first thing you need to do is finish your homework packet, okay? I'm going to do a demonstration of numbers 10 and 11 in this video. So just wait until after you've graded your homework problems and I will give you those. So you should have 4 problems guaranteed correct, because if you got the problems yesterday, or if you weren't here, you got the problems from someone else who was here yesterday, okay? And you write down the problems I show you today. That's 4 out of 15 solutions that should automatically be correct and that you know are good and that you can study for your quiz. Yes, do not forget you have a quiz tomorrow. On the quiz, you'll need to be able to complete 1 problem using substitution, 1 problem using elimination, and then 1 problem, I don't care, use substitution or elimination, your choice, right? First issue, if this is not already done, which for you it should be because I asked you guys to do this as homework, but I know it was a lot, okay? If it's not done, it needs to get done. Check numbers 10 and 11 when the video is played, okay? First issue. Second thing you're going to do is grade your raise packets. You do not have to turn in that last page, the raise sheet. You're just going to grade day 1 and day 2 in class. So if you mess something up, you have that opportunity to know and go through and check for your mistakes, see if you can find them on your own, fix your raise problems accordingly, okay? You do not have to turn the raise problems into me until 4 p.m. on Thursday. That way, if you have questions and issues, like you just could not do the problems right, you can ask me questions on Thursday during lunch, before school, or after school, and you can get those problems done, okay? Third thing, if you are done with your classwork packet, as I hope most of you will be because I asked you to finish it, okay? You feel confident about substitution elimination and you're ready for that quiz, and you've graded your homework packet. Graphing lines and killing zombies is the activity for today. The reason I chose this activity is because a lot of you failed your quiz on linear systems of equations because you graphed your lines wrong. So most people either did really well or they bombed because they weren't able to remember how to graph a line, okay? You guys need to be asking me questions about that in class if you're struggling. But we're going to just do a quick reteach on that. So have out a piece of paper and we will go through how to graph a line. On the back of this, you'll notice there's different equations for a line. So all you have to do is graph the equation. It's going to kill, aka go through one of these zombies, okay? Whatever zombie it goes through, you'll write the equation of the line there. If that doesn't make sense, I'm going to give you 2 examples as we're doing our reteach on graphing a line. So just hold tight and we'll get started. Hey folks, so we're just going to do 2 examples together really quickly for our homework packet that I asked you to do last night, just so you can check and see 2 more systems of equations problems before your quiz on systems of equations tomorrow. And then we're going to do a quick reteach on graphing lines because we had a rough time on our quiz last week, primarily because I think some of you need some review. So on number 10 on our worksheet, number 10 says that x minus 19y equals 1 and x is equal to 9y plus 11. And so first I need to decide, do I want to use substitution or elimination? Because x is by itself, substitution is the best method to use because I already know that x equals 9y plus 11, so I can replace x with what it equals. Just like if x were to equal 2, I could plug in for 2. For x, since x equals this expression, I can plug in this expression. So all I'm going to do is rewrite this with 9y plus 11 in for x minus 19y equals 1. Okay, so I just replaced x with what it equals. 9y minus 19y is negative 10y. Just combine your like terms because they're on the same side of the equation. Plus 11 equals 1. Now I want to get negative 10y by itself, so I subtract 11 from both sides. And I'm left with negative 10y equals negative 10. If I want y by itself, I need to divide out negative 10 on both sides. That gets me y equals positive 1. Negative 10 divided by negative 10 is positive 1. Okay? So if y equals 1, I can plug that into either of my original equations and solve for what y equals. I'm going to plug it into my bottom equation because x is alone, and I'll have to do less work to find x. Again, all I said is if y equals 1, I can replace y with 1 in this equation. I get 9 times 1 plus 11. Well, that's 9 plus 11. X equals 20. And so my point that I get is y equals 1, x equals 20. I can graph that point and work on making my pumpkin. Ms. Johnson has a blank graph because she's just doing this example, but it's fine. Okay. X equals 20, so I'm going to go all the way over to 20. I'm going to go up 1, and plot a point. Instructions say to label my point, so I'm going to label this 20, comma 1, and then I would draw a line from the previous point to this one. And again, what did Ms. Johnson use on this? Substitution. Substitution. It's called substitution because what does substitution mean? Replace. Since x equals this, I can replace x with the other, just like your substitute teacher is replacing me for the day. Elimination is the second method, and it's the method I'm going to use for number 11, just so you can see an example of elimination today. Could you use substitution on this problem? Sure, you would just have to do a little more work in getting a variable by itself. Okay, elimination means getting rid of, right? And so my goal when I'm doing an elimination problem is to add two equations together such that one of my variables goes away. I get rid of it. Right now, 2x and x would make 3x, negative 6 and negative 2 would make negative 8. I cannot eliminate a variable this way. And so I need to change one of my equations so that it has an opposite in it. I think it would be easiest to make x the opposite of 2x. What I mean by that is I need to make x into something that when added to 2x, it makes 0. If I multiply this whole equation by negative 2, negative 2x and 2x will make 0, so I'll get a system that'll work. 2x minus 6y equals negative 12 stays the same. When I multiply in negative 2 and x makes minus 2x. Good, those will eliminate. Minus 2 and minus 2 makes positive 4, so I get positive 4y equals negative 2, and positive 2 makes negative 4. When I add this system together, negative 2x and 2x eliminate. Negative 6y and positive 4y make negative 2y, and negative 12 and negative 4 make negative 16. If I want to get these alone, y alone, divide by negative 2 on both sides, y equals positive 8. Okay, so I know y equals positive 8. If I know that, I can plug in y equals 8 to one of the original equations. It doesn't matter which one. And honestly, these look equally easy to plug into to me. I'm just going to pick the one with the smaller numbers, okay? Use the original equation. So I get x minus 2 times 8 equals 2. Again, I'm just using that original equation. That's x minus 16 equals 2. So if I want to get x alone to figure out what it equals, I just need to add 16, and I get x equals 18. And so the correct point here is 18, 8. That's how you do it. So again, I go over to my graph and plot the point 18, 8. So here's 18, and I need to go up 8, 7, 8. I label it, and again, it says go in the order of the problem, so I plotted this one first, plotted that one second, draw a line in between. Got a piece of my pumpkin right there. The other thing we need to talk about today is how on earth do I graph a line? Okay, so if you finished your problems and you're super ready to move on, a lot of you are still struggling to graph the equation of a line. Graphing a line in slope-intercept form is not crazy. It's 2 steps. Step 1, plot your y-intercept, which I know most of you can identify a y-intercept from an equation because you killed it on those quizzes. Good job. Step 2, use your slope to make other points. You might just want 1 point, you might make multiple, but that's the 2 steps, and then you just use the slope over and over again as much as you need. You guys are still struggling, so let's clarify 2 things. First, slope-intercept form is an equation for a line. Okay? It is not the same as slope. It has slope in it, and it has a y-intercept. That's why it's called slope-intercept form, but it's not the same thing. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay? Slope is change in y over change in x. Completely different. If I want to write or to graph a line, yes, I need to identify my slope and my y-intercept using slope-intercept form, but I also have to understand what slope is in order to graph my point. So this tells me directions on how to get from one point to another It represents change. This is just a line. And it is instructions on how to graph a line. So a lot of you guys, I think, are struggling because you keep mixing partially these 2 things up. The other issue we're having is when we graph a line. So let's say, example, y equals 2x plus 1. You're not using this information properly. So step 1, plot your y-intercept. My y-intercept's 1. So on a graph, some of you are still putting this on your x-axis. X-axis goes left to right. Y-axis goes up and down. So my y-intercept of 1, to plot it, I just put a point here. And then my slope is 2. Y'all are being stubborn. You don't need to be stubborn. I love you so much, okay? Right? 2 is a fraction in the corner, and I guarantee you will not get this wrong as often if you do what I'm doing right now. 2 represents change in y. 1 represents change in x. If you label these, half of the time you guys are doing the wrong stuff because you're not paying attention to which one's y and which one's x. Labeling them will take that away as an issue. This is positive 2, so I go up 1, 2. On my y-axis, up is positive, down is negative. Since this is change in y, I need to go 1, 2 up. This says change in x. X goes left to right. On the left are negative values. So if I want to do positive 1 for x, I need to go up 1, 2 for y, because that was positive, right 1 for x. This is why Miss Johnson's super annoying about saying change in x rather than saying rise over run. Okay? You need to pay attention. This says go up because it's positive. This says go right because it's positive. If you make a note to yourself and you pay attention to which way they're going, you're going to have a much easier time. It's how you graph a line. Okay? The other thing I noticed is some of you guys freaked out when you had fractions. So if you have a line like y equals negative 2 over 3x minus 6, you acted like you suddenly couldn't do it, but it's not a different process, okay? I promise it's okay. It's not going to be hard. Your y-intercept here is negative 6. Make sure you pay attention to sign. And your slope here is negative 2/3. So the first thing I do, step 1, right, is your y-intercept. So all I'm going to do is graph my y-intercept down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 6. Put a point there, all right? And then my slope is negative 2/3. You can write this two different ways. I tend to put my negative in the top. You can also put it in the bottom. Okay. Negative 2 over 3 is the same as 2 over negative 3. As long as I have one negative, it doesn't matter where it is. I'm going to choose to plot using negative 2 over 3 to begin with, okay? This is change in y. This is change in x. I'm noting this, and you should too, because it makes it less likely for me to mix them up. It's a very common error. Negative for y's means down, so I'm going to go down 2. A lot of you guys are not paying attention to sign and just going up to whatever, right? Okay? Make sure you're going down because it says negative. And then this says positive 3 for x, so I just need to go positive on my x-axis, right? 3. Draw a line through. That's how you graph a line. On your worksheet, we're going to do one together. Let's say you start with this first line, y equals negative 2/3 x minus 16. I'm literally just going to write down on my worksheet so that I don't freak out, negative 2 over 3. Remind myself that this is y and this is x, and get to it. So this says down 2 because down on my y-axis is negative, and right because positive means right on my x-axis. And it has a y-intercept of negative 16. I'm going to go to the other side of this. Put a point at negative 16 because my first step is always to graph my y-intercept. Always, 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 step 1. And then the next step is to go and use my slope. So this says to go down 2, right 3. So I'm going to go down 2, right 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to do this a lot. Down 2, 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3. And just keep repeating it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And this is really where it gets the hardest, is just to be consistent. Up 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3. Up 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3. Sorry, left. Up 1, 2, left 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Up 1, 2, left 1, 2, 3. Up 1, 2, left 1, 2, 3. Oh man, okay, I'm now super confident that I've done this correctly because I've made a line that's only going to go through one zombie. Miss Johnson's just going to use her notes as her straight edge because she's using cardstock. Draw a line through these points. So the instruction is, once you've drawn your line and you know which zombie it kills this lady. Write the equation for that line. I'm going to go back here. Y equals negative 2 over 3x minus 16. Killed the zombie that looks like this. And then I just go through and graph the rest of them. It is going to be okay. Make sure you do this. Thank you.